Hi, I'm Meredith Bell of Performance Support Systems, and today I'm very excited to be interviewing Rich Perry and Larunce Pipkin about their new book called Bankroll Your Mind, Create Clarity, Focus, and Mastery for a Lifetime of Unlimited Success. Rich and Larunce are business partners who work with entrepreneurs, business leaders, and other high achievers. Through their training, coaching, and mastermind programs, Larunce and Rich help people to reprogram their minds and learn strategies for achieving greater success in their lives. So welcome, Larunce and Rich. Glad to have you with me today.
Thank you.
Hey, Meredith.
The first thing
Morning. How you doing today?
I'd like you to tell us a little bit about the work you've done over the years so we understand how you came up with the material that's in your book, as well as the title.
Well, I think I'll start. I've been a business success and life coach for several years. My background is in psychology, a master's in education and cognition and development, and was going in the corporate world, out of the corporate world, doing independent work, and finally, I think it was 2009, I decided to really dive into what it was that I hadn't been doing, and started doing some specific training, especially in NLP and things of that nature. And that's where I met up with Rich, and we just figured he had a past that was similar, but it wasn't fulfilling all of our needs. So we decided to do some work together, develop some programs together, and I'll let Rich give a little background for him.
Okay.
So I used to work with children in mental and behavioral health. I was a children's therapist working with small children. I did that for about 7 years. Initially, I was focusing on like preteen behavioral children, later transitioned to early development, so like 2, 3, 4-year-olds on the autism spectrum. Like I said, I did that for about 7 years. It was great. It was rewarding. But in those last couple years, I found that it wasn't fulfilling everything that I wanted to do. Kind of hit a low point in my life, realized that I needed some personal changes as well. That's when I started doing some looking inwards and attending different trainings and things like that. And that's where I met this guy, and we started working together.
Oh, such an interesting story, diverse backgrounds, and yet when you have that kindred spirit, that common ground and values, it's amazing how you can connect and create wonderful synergy. Well, one of the thoughts I had when I was reading your book, or first learned about it and then later read it, there are already so many self-help books out there that talk about, mindset and changing behavior. I was curious to know why you were kind of driven to create one yourself. What was it that caused you to feel that yet another one was needed? And who specifically is your book for?
All right, so want to grab that one?
I'll take the first part. You take the second part.
Right.
Let's see. As far as how is our book different, I think both Rich and I realized that we had spent thousands of hours and hundreds of dollars attending workshops and seminars and self-help things, and it was all geared towards getting us just pumped up and getting us excited. But then when we would get home, you're just back in the grind. I mean, the world starts attacking you again. Your friends tell you how that's not going to work, and your boss says this isn't going to work. And so all that motivation just went out the window, and we didn't have any what we considered applicable goals to be able to continue to move forward with what we wanted. So we felt that it was up to us, if we were going to complain about it, to put something together for people like us. And so that's what we did, was we got together and we developed a program that didn't just put forth a theory, but also created exercises and created a way for you to actually see the outcomes that you were going to create. So we hope it's motivating. We hope that if people do the exercises, they get that motivation that moves them forward. And unlike other self-help books, I think that it's pretty raw. Rich and I tell stories, and they're stories about ourselves, not just about our successes, but more importantly, our failures. And being a little older than Rich, I've had quite a few more. And we want people to understand that it's not always about the end result. It's about the journey. And the journey is filled with a lot of things that you learn to calibrate on, that it's not just a failure and you stop. So it's good that Rich worked with children because he works well with me now. So I've got that going. But as far as more uniqueness about the book, Rich, you want to jump in for that?
Yeah, so, I mean, we wanted to write a book that was going to help people, like we call it, reprogram your mind, bankroll your mind, reprogram your mind for success. And it's all about, being the CEO of your life. So whether you are an entrepreneur or a small business owner of a brick and mortar, whether you're a business leader, whether you're that stay-at-home mom that really just wants to lead by example for the kids at home, we're going to show you how to take control of your life, to be the CEO of your own life. And like Lauren said, it was important for us to not only put theory in there, but put practical exercises that anybody can do, that you don't need to have, advanced studies in personal development or psychology or any of these social sciences, that anybody can do these exercises. They're very simple. They're easy to do. You just have to do the work, and then you're going to get those results that you're looking for. So that was what was important to us, was making a book that anybody can read, get through, navigate, and apply those exercises.
And having read it, I will say that I think those were some real strengths, what you both just brought out. The idea that you were willing to be vulnerable and not, tell stories about someone else's issues, but your own, and what you learned from those experiences. Because that's what makes, I think, an author real. When you feel more like the person is your guide and not a guru that's, teaching from on high, that you're relatable. And I think your whole book is extremely relatable that way. And I really enjoyed doing some of those exercises that you had. So,
what was your favorite exercise?
Well, we're going to get into that with
Okay.
some of these questions that I'm going to ask you, because I want you to share some of these. I incorporated those into my questions for you because I thought those would be great to have other people be able to learn about. And so we're going to dive into the book now. I appreciate that background. And so I think it would be good kind of take the 10,000 foot view first and talk about those 4 main sections that you've created. Tell us what they are and how they fit together before we dive specifically into some of your action steps.
Definitely. So like we said, we wanted to provide that map for people. So the first section is all about clarity, is getting clear on what it is that you want in your business and professional life, what it is that you want in your spiritual life, financial life, all areas of your life. You need to get clear on what it is that you want. Once you have that clarity, you can move on to focus, getting that laser focus, knowing what it is that you need to do, that whole plan in action. After that, it's all about mastery. It's all about doing the work over and over and over again. It's practice. Like we say in the book, multiple times the word practice. And we even joke about how many times we say practice in the book. And then after that, you're able to gain control, have that control in your business, in your life, in your spiritual world, in your health and wellness, and then we move on to the 5th section, which is Larunce's section.
And so that's about mindset, but going beyond mindset. And I think it's even called More Than Mindset. And it's about actually helping people recognize that they're more than just their physical body. And throughout the ages, people have come to understand that. And so they also said that you are also your mind, and you're also your spirit. And while those things tend to be pretty common and people understand the things that you need for your body in order to be healthy. We talk about the resources that it needs and the exercise that it needs, and that's pretty common knowledge. So we talk about the exercises and the resources that your mind needs in order to grow, in order to exercise your mind. Then we talk about your spirit and what it needs as far as resources and exercise in order for it to grow. And then we go a little bit beyond and we talk about your shadow and how your shadow also needs to be fed and needs to be exercised. So the idea is that the complete person is going to developmentally rise rather than being tethered from one area or another. And so we like to tell people that it's the integral person. It's working all of those facets together so that you can developmentally move from a level to another level without something holding you down, whether it be your body, your spirit, your mind, or your shadow. And so we don't want people just to get pumped up. We want them to really understand that it does take work. But like Rich says all the time, the work doesn't have to be hard. It just has to be done. And so if we can make those bites small enough and make them understandable enough, then why not do it? Why not do the work? And especially if we can make it fun, then it's even more appealing. So just doing the work every single day gets you that unlimited success that we say in the book that you can totally have.
Well, I love that because I think it's so true that sometimes people focus on one area to the exclusion of others and don't realize that they still haven't done the work that's needed to do to really be able to move forward. So that's great. Thank you for those descriptions. And so now let's kind of dive deep in a couple of areas. One of my favorites, and I think because values are just so important to me, I loved your chapter on values. This is part of the first section, right, of clarity, getting really clear on what's important to you. And I liked the particular exercise where you describe not just identifying what your values are, but then identifying the ones that are most important to us. Because I think a lot of times people might list, you know, what's important, but this extra step, it to me was very significant just in thinking about, okay, so what really is number one? So how can our viewers apply, number one, the values hierarchy, and then the other, using that guarantee game, which ties into your idea, Larunce, about making it fun. So it doesn't feel heavy and like, you know, difficult work that you don't want to have to get into.
Right. Well, I think one thing about values, and Rich and I just got finished doing a writer's workshop, and we talked to them about values because they were a group trying to work together. And it's very important in a corporate environment or in any kind of collaborative event or even in your own life that your values are congruent with one another, but also that your values are congruent with what your goal is or what your message is. You know, so you have throughout history, you see corporations or businesses that might want to go one direction, but their values are saying something else. You know, so if you, Meredith, say you owned a law firm and your value was love, and at your board meetings, everybody got together and said, this is a law firm about love, and we want to make sure everyone feels loved. And then you go out of business in a year and you wonder why, because you're just all about this love, and you look closer at your values and you see that money didn't play a part. Profitability didn't play a part. And so then it becomes very, very clear that there was a disjunct between what the goal was of having a successful law firm and how you went about it based on your values. So values, we tell people, are something that you should always look at. Every time your life changes, your values are going to change a little bit. Many people think that their values are going to be the same as they were when they were in the 4th and 5th grade, when we first really learned about values. And I think in the book I said, like the DARE program. And I know that my stepdaughter, when she was in the 5th grade, she came home and everything was black and white for her. And if I had a drink at dinner, I was an alcoholic. And I was like, no, just because you have a drink doesn't mean you're an alcoholic. But she was black or white in her values. And a lot of people, unfortunately, don't look at their values after that. So your values need to be congruent in order for you to be authentic in what your message is. So we look at values in all of those areas of your life, and they could be thousands of areas. We break it down to like 4 or 5. You know, you have your career, your family, your relationships, your spirituality, your health and nutrition, that type of thing. And if you look at your values within those, you can see if they're congruent or not. And by congruent, I mean the very top value is always going to be the most abstract, and every value under it is going to be a subset of that value, that higher value. It will support that value. So your top 3 or 4 values need to be the things that are supported by everything else that you think, everything else that you feel deep down in here about your values. So Meredith, if you want to be successful, and your values have to be in line with what you feel success is. So that's a value hierarchy. A hierarchy is something that goes from abstract down, and every value underneath is a subset of the one above it, so that it supports it, it encourages it, and it pushes it forward. So it's important that people are clear and precise about those things. So when we're talking about clarity in the book, when someone says, I just want to be happy, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are a million ways that somebody can be happy. And until you can really be clear on what it is that makes you happy, you can't have any action towards achieving that goal. And then that goes into some of the exercises. Rich, I'm yapping. Do you want to jump in?
No, you nailed it, buddy.
Okay.
Well, what about the guarantee game?
So the game is all about determining what value is really important. So you look at that list of values and you say, which value can I pick out that is my number one value? And you say, this is it. And then you say, well, if I could have this value and I'm guaranteed that that value is not going to go away, what is my next value? And you continue along that frame of thought until you really get rid of the stuff that doesn't matter. I think that's the hardest part, I think, for people, is to get rid of things. And if you've ever been in my garden, and I think Rich is probably the best between the two of us, because he just moved, so he got rid of things. And our values are kind of like our basement or our attic. It's just too much stuff. And it's no wonder that people can't have that clarity and that focus, because everything else is just piled up. So this guarantee game is a way for you to actually streamline what your values are and what's really important. And I think that when you play that game and you say, if I have this value and I'm guaranteed that it's not going to go away, what is the next one? Then you'll see that in health and fitness and in family and relationships and spirituality and career, that those values will start to be the same values, or they'll be very similar, or they'll be supporting the other values. And that's really the magic of a values hierarchy, is that it doesn't exist just on its own. It exists throughout all those other areas of life. So you can't be two separate people. You can't be CEO and be family person. They're the same person.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know?
And you know, with what you're saying, and one of the big takeaways for me in the book that I think is a benefit for people that feel overwhelmed, which is very easy to feel overwhelmed these days with all the things that there are to do, but you really do, to me, simplify the process, you know, with your steps. Get clarity, get focus, achieve mastery, take control, you know, of what you can. I just think those are, they're terms we hear batted around, but you make it very real and concrete with the steps that you lay out. And it also, to me, takes away some of the overwhelm that people might feel.
Yeah.
because of the examples you give of your own lives, but then also the exercises. And if people take the time to really think through and do those, I think it makes a huge difference for them with each section. The other area, because I believe in this so strongly myself, that I loved was the chapter where you talked about rituals for success. And, people hear that all the time. You've got to establish rituals. But what I'd like you to talk about is, why are rituals so important? And then talk about that copycat idea that you introduce, and explain why that works so well. So it's sort of two-part. First, why are rituals important?
Okay.
Definitely.
Great.
Well, everyone wants to achieve something. Most people want that level of success. But how many people do we know that say, well, I tried it and it didn't work? I did that exercise once and nothing happened. I went to the gym for a week straight and I didn't get that body that I was looking for. Yeah, okay, because you need to do it on a constant basis. You need to create a habit out of doing it. That's what rituals of success really is creating those habits in your life. Whether it's productive habits in business, whether it's productive habits in your family life, in health and wellness, we need to do those exercises over and over and over again in order to get those results. Because, like we said, too many people, they try it once, oh, it didn't work. Well, so why are you stopping? Do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again. It's repetition. Larunce gives a fantastic example about when he was learning martial arts and he had to practice his round kicks a gazillion times, and only then was his sensei willing to show him how to properly do it after he did that roundhouse kick 1,000 times. How many people out there are willing to do something 1,000 times before they're ready to actually learn how to do it the proper way? So it's all about creating those rituals in all areas of life. And that's why we say it. And that's why we use the word practice so many times in the book, is just keep doing it. You know what you need to do. Just keep doing it. If you want that beach body, keep going to the gym. You want to bring in more clients, keep doing the work. You want to have a healthy relationship, keep doing the work that produces a healthy relationship in love and social environments and things like that. So it's all about creating those healthy habits in every single area of life. Those are your rituals.
And then what about the copycat idea that you introduced? I thought that was good.
Well, that's a lot of that comes from NLP, and it's about modeling and modeling excellence. And part of that is, finding somebody that's doing something that you want or you desire, or an activity or a behavior that you want to make part of your life. Then what you do is you ask that person a series of questions. You observe, and you try to figure out what the difference is that makes the difference in their success. And once you can figure out what that difference is, and once you can model exactly what they're doing and get the outcome that they get over and over and over again, then you have developed your own ability to do the same thing. It doesn't, at that point, when you figure out what the difference is that makes the difference, then you can get rid of all the extraneous things. And I think a couple examples I think we might have used were like batters and superstitions. Hitting a ball over the fence might not have anything to do with how many times you hit your right shoe with the bat. That's not the difference that makes the difference. And so through asking these questions and figuring out what the person's motivation is, and more importantly, if that's their motivation, how does that drive their behavior in a different way that then you can duplicate? Because it's all about duplicating. It's not about creating your own path every single time. But in order to do that, you have to have very keen sensory acuity. You have to be aware and be very observant about what's going on and ask all those important questions so that then you can teach that to somebody else. And the moment that you can teach that to somebody else and they get the same result, that's gold. And so I think modeling through NLP is a wonderful way for people to realize that they don't have to develop the will themselves, but they do have to be observant enough to know what difference really makes the difference. And I think Rich gives an example of
baking the cake.
Baking a cake, yeah. And if you just throw it all in there and put it in the oven.
Yes. Well, you know, I was just thinking with rituals, some people are resistant to adopting rituals. One thing I'm thinking as an objection is, well, it's boring. I don't want to do the same thing all the time. What are some of the things that you run into with people in resistance in adopting rituals? And what do you say to them in response to those objections?
In the very beginning, we have to, so if someone says, I don't want to do that, it's boring, well, then we need to figure out if that goal that they want to do is absolutely important to them. And how important is it to them? Because if it is that important to them and they want it unconditionally, then we need to understand that that's the work that needs to be done. Or do we need to replace that work with something else that will get those same results? If we can't replace that work and they're not willing to do that, the other work, then maybe that goal really wasn't that important to them.
Yeah.
I want that beach body, but I'm not willing to eat healthy and I'm not willing to go to the gym. Okay, well then how important is that beach body to you? Let's be honest with each other. Like, don't lie to me. Let's be honest. Is it really that important to you? Or do you just want it, if you rub the golden lamp or wish on the shooting star? How important is it to you? Because if it's really that important and you want it unconditionally, eating healthy and going to the gym, they're not that bad of tasks to focus on, right? So it really comes down to, is the person being honest with themselves or are they not? So that would be how we overcome that objection.
And I thinking about your book and the way you've got it structured, that whole thing of being clear on what's important to you is going to drive the motivation to do those things that they may not feel like doing in a given moment, but they know and recognize are important. So,
right.
And to me, it reinforces the importance of some of the services that the two of you provide around coaching and mentoring to help people, because it's not easy to do this kind of thing by yourself, to maintain that motivation and commitment, because we're going to have the little things going off in our heads trying to get us off track. It won't hurt if I skip today. Or
right.
The things that we do to ourselves to sabotage our efforts. And I think that what you've put together in your book, along with your follow-on services, is a really powerful combination for people who are serious about making the kinds of changes they want to make that are going to bring them greater success. So let's just think about what's another technique or idea from your book that somebody watching this could take if they're really motivated and implement it today and really see a major impact in what they're doing.
I'll jump in first, and only because you said the word they're motivated. And I think that the world is confused because it's not motivation that makes you act, it's action that keeps you motivated. So when you're talking about going to the gym and being healthy, motivation doesn't get you to the gym at all, because, well, it's raining today, so I'll wait until it's not raining. Or if I get those new shoes, then I'll go. If they stop doing that construction over on I-35, then I'll get to the gym. Action, little tiny bits of action, little baby steps. What can I do today that will get me closer to my goal than I was yesterday? Action, 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 action. And then 3 months, 6 months down the road, when you level off, that's when motivation kicks in. And that's when motivation keeps you going, because you've already strung along 3 months of work. You're not going to quit working, but now you might need a little more motivation, because you know you feel good. What do I need to do to be motivated to do more? And so that's motivation. Motivation doesn't get you to the gym. Motivation keeps you in the gym. And the thing that gets you to motivation is just those little tiny actions every day that you can do today that will build on yesterday and bring you to tomorrow. So that would be my tip. Rich?
And going on little tiny actions, I'm going to throw in some Pebbles ideas. So it's all about, what we call transforming pebbles into mountains. It's taking those small little successes, like Larunce said, and transforming them into monumental successes, because everyone wants that big successful business, or they want that big achievement. They want to be standing on the podium collecting that gold medal. Well, how do you get there? You have to do the work. I mentioned Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps didn't just wake up one morning with 20 gold medals around his neck. He started going to the swimming pool every single day for years and years and years, doing the work. Well, what kind of mindset do we need to create? It's recognizing the things that you do well. It's recognizing that first victory. You get one victory, you recognize it, you take ownership of it. Okay, it's your victory. You did the work. Give yourself credit for it. Now take another victory and another victory, and you start building these victories up bigger and bigger. Now you're building a little hill of success, and then a bigger hill, and then you've got a mountain of success. And then maybe you're standing on that podium collecting that gold medal. You have that big day. You have that successful sale, or you made that big negotiation in your business, or whatever it is. But you've gotten to your goal. You've lived exactly what it is that you wanted to do. It has to start somewhere. So start collecting that very first victory, and then do the work again. Collect that second victory and that third victory. And all along the way, you have to give yourself credit. Giving yourself credit, taking that ownership, so that you know that you did a good job, And then, like Larunce said, that'll be the motivation to keep going and keep striving and keep making those sales calls, or keep going to those meetings, or keep doing whatever it is, because you know that it's going to bring more wins and more wins and more wins.
Well, I love what both of you have said, because it's not about coming up with one big thing that you can do, that's going to all of a sudden the clouds part and music plays. It's not that dramatic. You both emphasized what I think is so critical, which is taking it one step, one action at a time. And just getting started helps build that momentum that then builds the motivation, as you were saying, Larunce, rather than sitting and waiting around until I feel motivated to get started.
I'm motivated to sleep all day sometimes.
Yes. And so thank you. Those tips, I think, are incredibly important for people to really absorb and integrate, so that they see it's one small thing that they could do to get started. And it doesn't have to be some big thing that intimidates them and causes them to procrastinate and never get started. So I love that. And I just appreciate all the great insights you've shared here. And of course, I want to recommend that people invest in your book, because there's so much more there that they have the opportunity to learn. So in wrapping up, I'd like you to tell us about how people can get a copy of Bankroll Your Mind, and also how they can learn more about you and the programs that you offer.
Excellent. So go right to our website, bankrollyourmind.com. Right on the website, on the front page, you'll have a link to purchase the book. You'll also have information on the programs. They can sign up for a video series that we have, the 5 Shifts to Bankroll Your Mind. They can learn more about us and the different programs that we do offer. And that's right there, bankrollyourmind.com.
Great. Well, thank you both for being with me today. It's been such fun to get to talk to you, and I love the work you're doing in this world. So I hope people who watch this will be motivated to take action by going to visit your site and getting your book and learning more about what you're offering. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Meredith, very much.